Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. I hope you're all having a great day. Today I thought I would show you how to make this wiper card. It's a 3D card and it has a pop-up element. And we're going to be using some Lawn Fawn products to do this today. So let's go ahead and get started. For paper today, we're going to be using the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock, and I've cut two pieces, and both of these measure 5 3/4 by 5 1/2. So I've got two of those. I'm going to place those in my We Are Memory Keepers trim and scoreboard, and I'm working on the side that is 5 3/4 inch long, and I'm going to score at 3/4 of an inch and 1 1/2 inches. So you'll see I'm going to do that again here, 3/4 of an inch and 1 1/2 inch. So now I have two of those. The next thing I want to do is take that one with the score lines on the left hand side. So we're just going to turn it so the score lines are on the left hand side, and then I'm going to lightly put pencil marks at about 2 1/2 inches up from the bottom. I'm taking this Grassy border die, and I'm going to position that right about at that 2 1/2 inch mark that I made, and I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine. And you can see the score marks are on the left side of the paper here. So I'm running that through the Spellbinders Platinum 6 machine, and that's going to give us that cute little grassy edge. Now I do want to create a second grassy border. So I'm going to trim this one off since it already has the score marks on it. I'm just going to trim that right off so I have a nice flat edge. And then I'm going to die cut a second border. And this one I want to be a little bit on a curve. So I'm using the Grassy Hillside borders. I'm going to tape that down, and it's probably about 1.25 inches to 1.25 inches at the lowest points here. So I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine, and now I have that extra little border for the front. But I want to trim away those score marks. So I'm going to cut this at that 1 1/2 inch score line. And I'm just going to trim that away. I just don't want extra bulk on the fold of my card, so I'm just going to place that extra border only on the front of the card. So now with Twisted Citron and Mowed Lawn, these are the Distress Oxide inks, I'm going to go ahead and place the Twisted Citron all over this panel. And I'm just going to place a nice even coating of this all the way around. Now I'll come in with the Mowed Lawn, and I'm going to shadow here up at the top a little bit, just kind of adding a little bit of a dark shadow here, and then going around the edges and leaving that center part the lightest. And then without re-inking my Twisted Citron applicator, I'm just going to go ahead and blend that out. And just keep adding ink here and there if you feel you need a little bit more. I did the same thing for that other panel. Now with the Mowed Lawn, I'm placing some on my glass medium mat, and I'm just going to spritz it with a little bit of water and take a small paintbrush and spatter these two panels. I'm heat setting that with my heat gun, and now I'm going to go ahead and fold this one. So I want to fold away from me first, and I'm using my bone folder to press that out, and then I'm going to fold towards me. So you can see it makes a little bit of a Z fold there. I'm pressing that out really well with the bone folder, and now you can see that you will be able to see the back of that grass there right on that middle panel. So without re-inking my foam applicator tools, I'm just going to add a little bit of color there. And that panel will sit right on the front there. So I can go ahead and glue that down. I'm using my glue tube, and I'm going to place glue just around the two sides and the bottom, because I do still want to be able to tuck a few things in there. So I'm going to glue that to this front panel, just making sure that I line it up properly. Now with this second one, I want the score lines on the right hand side this time. So I'm going to create a little picket fence border using the die, but I want to mask it off using the Gina Masking Magic. I'm trying to keep this back panel pretty much one-dimensional, so it doesn't interfere with my little wiper mechanism later on. So I'm positioning this die on the Masking Magic. I'm taping it down with a little bit of purple tape, and I'm running that through my die cutting machine. So now where that little fence is going to be on the back panel here, I just want to figure out approximately where I want that to be. I did mark a little bit with a pencil mark there just to give me a rough idea where I would want it. And you don't need to do that. You can really just tell by moving it around. And now I thought this masking sheet was, I wanted to save a little bit. I didn't want to use the whole thing, so I'm just cutting away a little piece there to save that for later. So now I can remove the backing from the Masking Magic. And again, just determining where I want to position that on the card, kind of using those pencil marks as a little bit of a guide here. And I'm just going to double check that one more time. And you want to make sure you press this into place nice and firmly because we are going to be inking over the top of this. So make sure you press it down really well. And you can see that there. With the Stormy Sky Distress Oxide ink and my cloudy stencil from Lawn Fawn, I'm going to create a cloudy sky here. And what I'm going to do is ink up the applicator and just kind of tap off any excess onto my glass media mat. And then I'm just going to come up from the stencil and push the ink up onto the paper. So I'm kind of coming from the bottom and pushing it up towards the paper there. And I'm going to continue to do this all the way down till I hit that fence. And then I'll show you there that you have to do a little bit more there. So I'm just going to finish this, and you do need, this stencil is not long enough for the 5 3/4. So you do have to move it a couple of times here. So you do it about 3/4 of the way across the card, and then you do have to move it to do the rest of the card. So now you can see that you can't really see that fence because there's not enough ink there by just doing the clouds. So what you need to do is come back in with your ink, with the Stormy Sky ink, and we're going to add ink right into all those little openings on the fence and then above the fence posts a little bit, just to make sure that it will stand out on the paper. So you can see that I'm going up over the top of those little posts. Not by a lot, maybe about 1/4 of an inch or so, and really filling in between those openings on the fence posts. And then when I remove the mask, you can really see that fence now. So I'm going to take a little bit of purple tape and I'm going to mask off the fence because I want to create the grass below it. So I'm just going to tear some little sections of purple tape here, place it down, and then I'm going back to the Twisted Citron and the Mowed Lawn, and I'm just going to create a little bit of a grassy edge here, just to match the grassy borders that we've already done. So I'm starting with the Twisted Citron. I'm adding a little bit of that Mowed Lawn up towards the top here. And then without re-inking, I'm going to go ahead and use the Twisted Citron and blend that out. I'm going to do the same thing for the right side of the card. Just adding a little bit more of the purple tape. You do want to make sure you press it down nice and firmly just to make sure it doesn't get up under there when you're doing your inking. Now I'm using that masking paper that we used for the fence just to mask off the top part of the card here because I want to do some spattering. And a little bit of the top was showing, so I'm just going to place that right over there just to cover it for now while I do my spattering. So I'm going to go ahead and spatter the same way we did before. Now I can remove that mask. And what I like to do is save the mask. Whenever I create one, I always keep it, and I keep it with my die. And then I know that I always have it if I need it again. So I'm going to remove all of my purple tape. I'm going to heat set this. And now I can do my folding. So this is how these two are going to line up. So now I want to, in this time, I'm going to fold towards me first. before we folded away first. So I'm folding towards me first and then away from me. And that's going to create that Z fold again. And this is how these two will line up. So let's go to the stamps and dies here. We're going to use that little bunny, the trampoline, and one of those phrases from the Really High Five stamp and die set. Then we're using the bunny, the bear, the butterflies, and that little trio of flowers from the Butterfly Kisses set. And then the airplane and the little banner from the Plain and Simple set. I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black ink to do my stamping. I've placed this in my Misty Stamp Positioner, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. Now I do need a few more of the trio of flowers. I ended up doing like 5 or 6 sets of those, and just one more of the small butterflies. So I'll have 3 butterflies all total. So to do my coloring, I'm using light gray, gray brown, and sugared almond pink. And that's to do the first little bunny here. I'm starting with the pink, putting it in the ears, on the cheeks, and in the tummy. And these are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. And these are a water-based pen. And I'm using a blender pen to do my blending. You do want to have a scrap piece of paper handy so you can scribble off the ink as you change colors. And I always start with my lightest color first, which was the light gray, and then I'm adding the darker gray. And I'm just going to pull those 2 colors in towards the middle here. So I'm adding my darker shadow here and just pulling in. I'm going to add a little bit of a darker effect down here towards the feet. And a little bit more of that light gray. I'm going to do the same thing here for the face. And I do want to keep the face very light in the middle. Now these are, again, a water-based marker, and you can blend them with the blender pen. You can also blend them with a water brush. And to change colors, you just scribble it onto your scrap paper until it goes clear, and then you'll know that it's clean. If you get too much ink on your image, you can always scribble it off onto your scrap paper. So you can go to your image, pick up any excess color, and then scribble onto your scrap paper until you get just the right shade that you want. So it's very forgiving. So here I added a little bit more of a shadow under his chin. Now with oatmeal, dark oatmeal, and sugared almond pink, I'm going to do the little bear. And you'll notice I did that other bunny the same exact way I did the first one. So again, I'm adding the sugared almond pink to the tummy area. And then I'm going to come in with the oatmeal, the lighter color first, and then the dark oatmeal. And then I'll just blend in again towards the center of the face. And I do find that the Strathmore Bristol Smooth Cardstock does seem to be the best, at least for me, to do the blending with these inks. It just keeps that ink floating up on top of the paper long enough so you have plenty of time to move it around and plenty of time to remove ink if you put a little too much on there. So I'm just kind of adding shadows here and there where I think they might be. And don't be too fussy here, just have fun with it. And then I'm going to add a little shadow down the left side of his arm there as well. Now with bright yellow and pink, I'm going to color in all these little flowers. So I'm putting yellow in the centers and then the pink towards the middle and then just pulling it out towards the edges. But I did think it needed a little bit more of a shadow. So I'm going to come in with the dark pink and add a little bit more of that in the middle there, kind of around that yellow center, and then pull that out as well. So I did that for all of the flowers. And like I said, I did quite a few of those. So with black, bright yellow, May green and green, I'm going to color in the little airplane here. So again, I'm starting with that lighter green. I'm going to put that all over the body of the plane. And then I'm going to add that darker green kind of down towards the bottom here. And then I'll be pulling that up towards the top, keeping the top of the plane the lightest. And to move the ink, sometimes it's easier to use a little bit of a circular motion around the edges until you get it kind of loosened up, and then pull it up towards the top. And then to do the little wings on the plane, I'm going to the yellow and bright yellow. Starting with that yellow, adding a little bit of the bright yellow, and then just pulling it kind of back towards the tip here. But you'll see here in a minute, I didn't think that was quite dark enough. So I am going to come in with a little bit of the scarlet red. And just add a little bit more of a shadow here. And you'll see what a difference that makes. It really makes these pop out a little bit more. Now for the tire, I'm going to just use a little black on two sides of the tire and then pull these towards each other. So you'll have a couple little lighter areas there. And for the propeller, I'm going back to my light gray and then a little touch of black. And I know I always say this, but the black goes a long way. A little bit goes a long way. So you can see that I had a little too much. So I'm just going back in, grabbing it and scribbling it on some scrap paper. Now with light blue, I'm going to go all around this little banner. You could also use a light gray here as well. But I thought the light blue would add a little bit of a prettier shadow here around the edges. And then we'll be stamping a sentiment in there later. I'm going back to the three colors we used before. So the yellow, the bright yellow, and the scarlet red. Those are the three colors we used on the airplane. And I'm going to color in all of my butterflies using those colors. Now with light gray, gray, and Persian blue, I'm going to color the little trampoline. I'm using the light gray first, gray, just on the two sides and on the little feet of the trampoline. Then I'm going to pull that color in towards the center. And I'm going to do the same thing here for the blue part of the trampoline. Just putting it on each side and pulling in towards the middle. So we have the coloring done. Now we can go ahead and die cut these little images. So I'm grabbing the coordinating dies, taping them down with a little bit of purple tape and running those through my die cutting machine. So let's work on the wiper element. I'm taking a piece of acetate, 5/8 of an inch by 3.5 inches. I'm placing it in my paper trimmer and I'm going to cut it at 5/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to turn it and cut it at 3.5 inches. Now once I have that cut, I just want to make a little marking on here. So I'm going to use a Sharpie pen. You can use any color. This won't show later, so it doesn't matter. You just want a permanent pen. So I'm going to place it in my trimmer and I'm just going to make a mark right along that 5/8 of an inch. So you can see that there. Now to do my folding, I'm going to lift this up and fold it across itself. And I want that edge to be right along that red Sharpie mark that we made. And then I'm going to press that down with my bone folder so you can see that there. So I just folded it at a 90-degree angle and I use that red line as the guide. Now I'm going to press that again with the bone folder. So keeping it just like that, I'm going to lay it flat on my table and I'm going to take my tape and put a little bit right at the top of this mechanism. And this is where I'm going to glue down the little bunny. Now I did have a little glue too far down, so I'm going to just push that up a little bit. That's the nice thing about the Tombow tape. You can just kind of move it around with your fingers a little bit. So now that I have that taped up at the top, I'm going to flip this whole thing over, and down at this bottom section from the fold over, I'm going to place some more tape. Now that is going to go on my inside of the front panel of my card, and I'm going to place it down towards the bottom, centering it on that middle panel. So there you can see it again. There's the front of the card. It's going to go on that middle fold, and I'm going to line this up sort of towards the bottom here, maybe about 1/16 of an inch up, and I'm going to tape that in place. I'm using my bone folder just to press that down a little bit, and then that'll tuck that right in behind. And you want to make sure that your acetate isn't too long, because it could get stuck in there. So if you're going to make it, you can make it a little bit longer, but you do want to check and make sure that it pops in and out when you do that. So now I'm going to put tape on the right side, so in about 3/4 of an inch, and then on this folded panel here, which is also 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to tape these two together. So I just want to line it up right along the bottom and left side. And you do want to take a second here just to make sure you have it lined up as well as you can. And then press that out with your bone folder, and then you can connect the right side. And again, lining up the bottom and the right side. So there you can see that creates the little wiper card. And also you can see now that our fence won't interfere with our little bunny going up and down. That's why I wanted to do it as a flat piece, basically, not as a three-dimensional fence. So now I'm going to go ahead and start to glue in my little images, and I've got the trampoline here, but I did want to add a little bit of those little markings that make it look like it's in motion. So I'm just going to ink those up using my VersaFine ink, and I'm just going to stamp one of those on either side. And now I can start adding all my little pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and start gluing these down. Now I like to use this tape for this kind of thing, because it's very forgiving. So if I don't like where I place something, I have a little bit of time to move it around. You have some time before it dries permanently. So you can kind of like reposition things, and you'll see that I reposition the flowers several times during this process. Now I also wanted to add a little sentiment to my banner, and I like the word yay. It's going to say, yay, it's your birthday down below. So I'm going to stamp that. It fits nicely in this little banner, and you can see that there. So I can go ahead and attach that to the card as well. And then I just need to add a little rope there between the plane and that banner. And I'm going to use my Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen in the black. That's the 0.1 millimeter. And then I can start adding all my little flowers. And like I said, I kind of played around with these and moved these around here and there. You do want to be careful with the flowers as well, that they don't interfere up and back there by where the fence is. You don't want to interfere again with that wiper mechanism. And that's why I did move things around a few times. And I'm also going to add my 3 little butterflies. So just to let you know, all of the supplies I'm using today are listed below, and they're also listed on my blog. And there are dies available to create these wiper cards. I will list a few of them below for you. This is a technique that I have used forever, and it works for me, so I just do them this way. But there are other designs for the wipers that will put them at different heights and at different positions on the card. So again, I will list a few of those below for you. And then I also did add a few flowers to that left side panel there afterwards because it didn't seem like they were going to be too bulky. And you'll be able to see that at the end. So again, you can see me changing my mind several times here. Now with the white Jelly Roll pen, this is a Sakura Jelly Roll pen, I'm just going to add a few highlights here and there. And this will just make things pop a little bit more. It just gives a little highlight to everything. And then I'm going to grab the black Jelly Roll pen and just go back over the eyes and nose on the little teddy bear and the eyes on this little bunny here and the one underneath as well. So there's the sentiment that says, "It's your birthday." I'm going to stamp that on some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock, and then I'm going to use the Everyday Sentiment Banners dies. I'm using that smallest one, and I'm going to create a little banner for the bottom of the card. And I just need that left side to have that little bow tie effect. So I'm going to run that through my Sizzix Sidekick machine. I'll be popping that up with a little bit of foam mounting tape. I've removed the backing from the tape, and I'm going to position that down here at the bottom of the card. So here's my completed card. And I just love how that little fence came out. And then when you pull on the sides, you get that little wiper mechanism. And I just think he's so cute. I could play with this all day. He's so much fun. So there's lots of possibilities with this. And you can see there I added a few flowers on the left-hand side. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to visit me at pinkwhisperdesigns.com. As always, thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.